Have you ever found yourself, oh, I've got to read the Bible, and I've got to, more than I want to? And if I bring this down for me again, it's if my goal is to love the one who loves me, has forgiven me so much, and to be obedient to love others as he loves me, then I need to know him and I need to know his love. And if you can put the next slide up, Sally. I mean, I love this verse, and it's good to read the story around this. This was the Israelites had just escaped from the Egyptians. And it's Moses saying, who among the gods is like you, Lord? Who is like you? Majestic in holiness, awesome in glory, working wonders. And Moses was speaking here from an experience that had just happened. And I'll go back to me. That can be like, oh, I set my mind to do it. It's like, yay, it's really easy. And then it's not. And if we read on in Exodus, it wasn't too long before the complaining started again. Life gets in our road. And we can lose sight of who God is. And it's having these disciplines and these practices in place that helps establish me to take that time to reflect on who he is and what he has done. To spend time, as you've said, connecting with him, pulling aside in silence, in prayer, in meditation, in walking in nature, in doing whatever we do, because there are so many disciplines and practices, and sometimes we'll use what others have done until we establish our own rhythm. And so if you put the next slide up, Sally, I want to just take 30 seconds to reflect and make this a fresh reflection. Perhaps let's just close our eyes, take a big breath in, hold it, and then, who is God to me? We need to know who he is to us, and where we find that perhaps there's a bit of a faulty thinking around him, or we don't quite know him in that intimate way that others do. That's okay. It's good that we know that, and it's good to reflect on who do I know he says he is, but I don't quite know him as that yet. And there's a gap there, and that's a good awareness that we can perhaps create a goal out of, to know him more in that space or in that way, because we are all being formed by something. And practicing spiritual disciplines is all about getting to know the one whose image is being formed in me. It's about learning how to yield to him and allowing him to form his Christ likeness, his very nature in us for the sake of others. And on this journey, we will find that there's, oh, Father, I've let distractions get in the way. Oh, God, that's what came out of my mouth then is not like you. I pray that your life is formed in this place. So it's running to him when we notice that things aren't quite right, instead of running from him. And I won't go into it now, but it's good for us to explore what are some barriers to spiritual disciplines and practices in my life. We've got general barriers, but what are the things that tend to trip me up? And then the next slide. This I love this verse, and the whole passage from 3 to 8 is worth reading. But Peter gives you just such a wonderful example of the life of Christ, the very nature of Christ being formed in him for the sake of others. He thought he knew God, and then he knew him.
Mm.
And then he knew, and he could state and declare boldly that God's divine power, I've got everything I need in me. It's all here. By coming to know him, by coming to know the one who called me, by his own glory and goodness, not for what I've done. Now I know more who I am, and yet God in his grace called me anyway. When I can grasp this and experience this, I can live like an overcomer. I can remember that greater is he who is in me than the distractions and the stuff out here. And then the last slide, and this is a declaration for all of us. I am sure of this very thing, Paul said to the people then and to us today, and I'm going to say this over us. I'm sure of this very thing, that the one who began this good work in you and in me, he will carry it on to completion until the day that he returns. Now that is the word of the Lord.
Mm.
That's his word for each and every one of us. And I'll finish that with how we do in our church. Thanks be to God.